Hi. Before the episode, we'd just like to thank everyone who would like to support Future Imminent. We couldn't do this without you, and we hope you keep supporting us. Please visit our Patreon or Ko-Fi page linked below when you feel like we've earned it. Now, on to the show. Adrian Moisa is the founder of Nexus Aurora, an organization with a focus on gathering like-minded individuals to solve the problems associated with establishing a long-term colony on Mars. Join me today on Future Imminent as I ask him questions about what his team is like and how his experience in the business world helps him and his organization. How are you doing today?
Well, as I said, today is a hectic day. So I had a lot of things to handle recently. For example, I had to move between Iași and Bucharest in Romania. I did this trying to optimize my costs and trying to focus more on Nexus Aurora. So yeah, it's always something to be done. So
What happened to the visual school? Are you still focused on that project in any way? You had a goals page, for lack of a better word, and how many of those have been achieved, or are you still working towards? Adrian is the owner of a business called Visual School, a startup based around learning through a visual skill sharing system.
yeah, absolutely. So that's the timeline you are talking about. And yes, there is still an active crew and we are still ongoing, with development activity. Trouble is that this recent pandemic has kind of moved schedule around and moved the goalposts. So basically, we had to optimize some costs. Therefore, we had this change of town and reduced a bit the team size. But overall, the project is going forward and basically to bridge this aerospace activity in terms of like creating designs and all this stuff with the activity of creating educational material. So right now I'm heavily focused on Nexus Aurora, but at the same time I also have like an entire team that helps keep the work ongoing at Visual School. So there's a partner that handles the social media part. Then we have like tech lead that takes care of coordinating with the remaining team. And yeah, we are doing steady progress and we expect to have this done within 1 or 2 months. And yeah, this period is a bit challenging in all regards.
Was there anything that proved to be more challenging than you originally thought?
Oh, that's a long list.
I mean, were there any of them funny?
One major setback was the fact that we had very strong candidate for a strong, let's call it, client that desired some custom work and they were like really excited about working with us. So we had a lot of time spent on searching additional team members, trying to increase the team size. That was like back in October before everything started with this crazy virus. There was this period of trying to settle the deal and everything looked fine and we had very promising start. That's why we were like a bit too excited about the stuff. So yeah, eventually we learned the news that just 1 hour after we got the go flag, the go call, 1 hour later we learned that these guys just had a meeting and they've been acquired by a greater entity, and like all their entire planning is shifted and they don't know what's important on the desk, like what's the new plan. So we had to wait and basically everything scaled down, and then like even the existing project had to be cut back due to the recent pandemic. So yeah, that's one of the things that makes it really challenging to run such kind of activity, to start from scratch. And then yeah, a lot more other things happened, like all these kinds of like small cuts and each one adds up and then you get a blow and you're done. But we are like very persistent, so I'm not gonna complain too much about this. I'm just gonna say it, well, it's a test of endurance. So if you want to succeed, then you have to be ready to wake up each morning and be ready to receive any unexpected call, and hopefully it's a good one. But if it's a bad one, you should always have something on hand and a solution to move on.
Pretty good segue into my next question. Qualia Vision, how is it connected to the visual school, and basically what is the methodology behind this startup?
Qualia Vision is this umbrella project which basically should be a company that tries to innovate and to open up more business possibilities. For example, Visual School is just one of them, but we are also working on a project called Active Help, where we want to use machine learning to supervise and to assist elderly persons in the context of them having less independence, and they need a bit of additional care. So we were also exploring these options. It's a bit of a less developed project. Our hopes are that once this economic situation fixes, then we can restart activity there. And basically all our incomes for the beginning of 2020 and a bit of late 2019 have been streaming from Qualia Vision, and everything that has been happening in Visual School or all the other activities has been sustained by development work done within Qualia Vision. Now, at the current moment, we are pulling back a bit on this part of the business due to this advice in business, which tells you if you have something good, then focus on it. And we figured out that Visual School in collaboration with aerospace enthusiasts might actually be the right call and the right plan to keep chasing.
What made you decide that you wanted to organize a community to build a city on Mars?
That's a fun question. First of all, when I started this, it was a bit different vision and it's always evolving. Prior to this, I'd say like at the beginning of the year, if you asked me, will you start an open source project? I'd say, well, no, I have other priorities. But then, this question of how do you attract customers towards this education platform started kicking in. So we had a failed Kickstarter in 2019 in October. Most of the biggest lesson learned there was that we need to create a community that cares about this product, something that makes them really excited. So in our case, the product was fine. I mean, that was fine. But our effort to go out and reach people was totally misguided. And I mean, we experimented with so many things and very little was actually working. To tell you the fun story of this thing, I read the news on the web, and there was this guy claiming that he had started a community about some odd topic for me, if you ask me. I don't recall exactly the topic, but it was one of those things you wouldn't expect to catch with the public, but supposedly it has like lots of traction with some niche community. And he grew this over 1 year, and at some point it reached 100K subscribers, and this guy was doing it only for fun, and at some point he wanted to do a prank and he said like, well, I'm gonna delete this community. If you want to continue work, whatever, I don't care. And everybody got like really upset about this, and they started appealing to owners of the platform, trying to persuade this guy not to delete the community and so on. And I was like, man, that's not right. I mean, he's just messing with people. And here we are trying to develop a product that actually wants to help people and wants to contribute to society. And yeah, I'm not saying that that guy wasn't doing a fine job, but it felt to me that this is not right, And then I had this hunch that, well, if he managed to get 100K, I can manage it the same way, So I tried focus a lot more on PR and on social media and on trying to establish new ways to communicate with the community. And basically this was like in February, I'd say, when February or March 2020, when this new direction started. And at first it was some small community in Romania, something focused on programming just to learn the basics. And from learning the basics, I got a bit more comfortable with going international. And since then, this PR effort has been improving a lot. I learned a lot of these skills. And basically, at some point, I started thinking, well, I need content. This product cannot simply grow with the sales brochure. We need content and we need something cool. And basically, our initial goal was to create coding and design content, tutorials. But I figured out that this is overcrowded market, so it's quite hard to stand out. Even if you have a good product, it's still hard to stand out because there's so much content. So at some point, it occurred to me, well, I have this crazy passion for space, and I'm watching all the YouTube content out there that's available like for the past 4 years, I started thinking seriously about trying to go to this direction. So that's when this space instructor idea started taking shape. So I started a community with this name on Reddit, and there I tested a lot more. And eventually I figured out that maybe I should partner up with some other established content providers or creators. Out of the list of YouTube subscriptions, I started chasing, whoever would be interested in this. So that's how I ended up in contact with the Mars or Bust account, which is run by Dave. And we talked a bit. Then 1 week later, I see this interesting post about Mars contest, and I figured out, well, that's actually something that matters for a lot of people. Maybe I should try focusing on this for a while. And this is how Nexus Aurora got started, with this basic idea, like there's this contest and it has interesting objective, and it's definitely something that I do love and I have a great passion for, and it also binds very nice with the other passion, which is education and programming itself. So why not? And from there on, it's just like step by step building this community. That's how it started.
So, what are the deliverables before the year 2030? Before starting production on the Martian colony, what are you making right now to get that capital going?
At this point in time, it's probably 2 months. It's not even 2 months since we started this entire project, and it's growing quite fast compared to any other communities that I'm aware of. And it seems that most contributors have this sense that Mars will be there for us and we will be able to go out there. At first, it wasn't quite clear what's the pathway forward, but we figured out quite fast that actually open sourcing space colonization plans is not such a crazy idea after all. I think this is most inspired by the Gateway Foundation. I was watching their activity and I saw all these interesting proposals of how to build in space an orbital station and replicate this job. So I thought, well, they do it in orbit. I mean, same principles could apply for Mars as well. And since SpaceX is such a driven company to achieve this end goal, I suppose eventually there will be people there. So they will need to have some drafted plans. And seeing what happens right now with, for example, the SLS system that gets postponed so much, at the rate that basically a private company manages to go to the ISS before them, yeah, it put me thinking, well, I think we should definitely try to go for this open source route. Basically, what should happen over the years, and I'd say even by the end of this year, we would expect to have a bit more meat on the bone. So that means like highly developed concepts, because at this point in time, it's more of a, let's say, establishing the ground rules activity right now for project. We are just trying to figure out what would actually work and what not. So there have been lots of discussions about construction methods, about what kind of spacesuit we want out there, about economic system and so on. Yesterday, I just assisted to some absolutely mind-bending urban planning lecture. So there are a few top contributors that actually push very hard for interesting concepts, such as having a roof made of transparent materials filled with water for the purpose of having radiation protection. And this in itself then opens up the sky and you have natural light coming in. So all these seem like crazy ideas right now. But we do believe that at some point, people will be out there and they will need some blueprints. And these blueprints can be prepared starting from today. People have been designing blueprints for a long while. So there are probably papers from 1960s. I've seen a few of them that are proposing various solutions. And yeah, maybe they are outdated by now due to current technological progress. Maybe some of them are no longer good for use, but I do believe that in our context, having a real-time communication stream with a team that exceeds 100 active contributors makes a project like this totally possible. The challenge here is to maintain consistent and coherent direction towards this end goal, is to spread the message and figure out exactly in terms of engineering what it makes sense to do there, because we don't really want to have some nice renderings and just claim that we did some interesting projects. We do want to run the real engineering effort necessary to create actual products. In this regard, I can even state that from the very beginning, there is a baked solution in this project for having actual results in this direction. So we had from the very beginning the idea of bringing in 3D printing experts that could print parts of our designs, trying to test them for real. So for example, if we take this decision that, okay, we have the specifications of a spacesuit, now it's time to actually try it. So some of these parts can be 3D printed and tested on live subjects, right? I mean, we can go as far as that even by the end of the year. So predicting what's going to happen from like end of year towards the next 9 years, that's a bit hard. But I do expect that we will have continuous stream of achievements. And here I believe that most important is to have like a strong leadership. And basically this is top priority for me right now, figuring out who are the most engaged and competent contributors in our project and trying to create team with varied and a broad catalog of skills and with proper, leadership skills. So I do like to say to everybody that if you want to be a leader, it's best to lead by example, not by commanding. So yeah, that's basically what we are finding out, trying to do here in Nexus Aurora.
You've heard of the
Yeah.
Mars Society's contest with a $10,000 first place prize for designing a city designed to host 1 million people. Is that kind of what you've already been working on? Were you kind of like, oh, we can win this easily?
Yeah. So basically, that's exactly the call to action that I got when I started hatching this plan. So it was posted by Dave from Mars or Bust on his YouTube stream. I just stumbled upon the question because I'm like always checking up on updates on all these interesting space YouTube channels. When I saw it, it was like quite clear. Well, this is the way to go forward. Very potent way to motivate a team to get started. So it has been very successful at galvanizing, our efforts into this direction. And right now we are basically in last 2 weeks before submission date, meaning that we have to prepare the report and submit it. We will get tough evaluation from the jury, and we hope that we will end up being selected for the contest. As far as I understand, there are 10 spots available. I know that there are some teams participating, but I find it really difficult to detect, potential competitors. So I just assume that it must be universities and probably some development labs if they have this interest. Where I have a bit of confidence that we can actually make it in the contest is that we are extremely determined to go there, and we have this insane drive to actually make it happen. So I think this is what makes us a bit special in this regard. We are out there 24/7, mostly because we have like volunteers from all over the world. So it's non-stop activity. Always something happens there, and there's always a little achievement each day. We are also very focused on having organizational structure and having a flow and a roadmap and actual goals. So as you said, like for this end of month, we want to have a finished report, but then we move to the next step and so on.
And how well has the team been working together? I mean, you've been in the business world now for over a decade. You know how important teamwork is. Do you feel like the team is good for finishing this project and winning this prize?
It's a team that I wasn't actually expecting to see, on the web. It's beyond anything I've seen in terms of determination and motivation. And I kind of have this counterexample with my own private endeavors where, yeah, due to local sourcing, it's not that easy to get in touch with the most motivated persons. And due to financial restrictions on startups, it's again another challenge to overcome. I had to deal with a lot of persons that lack this internal drive, like having this burning passion for doing something that changes the world. And here in this community, it's overflowing with them. All of them have this insane drive to go out there and do something that makes a difference. And I think this is by far the most competent team I ever seen. And I've seen a few teams ranging from financial towards medical and even the typical outsourcing shop and so on. You know how people are. They do like their jobs and they need income, and basically they need to follow a job and so on. But yeah, when the day shuts off at 6 p.m., then door closes and there's something else to be done. This is something that doesn't happen here. I mean, we had meetings when I was like awake at 2 a.m. recording and engaging with the community, trying to be out there and making sure that everything runs smooth. And it's not just me, everybody else does it. And you'd say, well, you are crazy guys. How are you actually making a living and so on? Or maybe you are privileged to have a position where you can afford it. Yeah, maybe some of them have it, but I tell you that a lot of them don't have it. They have double duty, so they have a job and they have family, some of them, and they simply have this true passion to actually do it. So they somehow carve out time for this process. And I was astonished to find out that not just that they carve out, but they want to do it very proficient. It's not just like, I'm going to do this nice drawing and I'm going to throw it out there for fun and giggle. No, it's actually they care so much and they have like long-term plans and everything makes sense. And they've been sifting through tons of information, trying to figure out how to integrate everything. We are considering that there are, like, by last count, I think we have 12 engineering domains and an extra 7 or 8 artistic domains. That's a lot of information to follow up. You need a certain kind of drive and motivation in order to stick with this team.
So when you have people initially coming over, would you come with them or would you wait a little while until the colony is more established?
If I have this chance, I don't hesitate. So I'll be out there, first day, putting my fingers in the dirt, trying to lift up some soil and, create a trench, do some foundations and so on. So I don't think I'll have much effort figuring out if I want to go or not. Our time in this huge timeline of the cosmos is such a perfect coincidence. We are first people actually going off of our planet, and that's not a chance you get to have, anytime. It's something that happens once and you better be there. So yeah, like, people live for various reasons. Some of them live to enjoy life and to have the best leisure and the best activities they can have and travel around. So other people just simply struggle. This is life, it's hard. Some of these small percentage of people actually do realize that our timeline here, like, we've been evolving so long on this planet, and now we are at the point where we have such a strong connection with everybody, through internet, and we have so much knowledge piled up, and we have so many breakthroughs in science. Every single statistic seems to improve, although we're used to see this constant barrage of bad news. No, actually it's getting better. When you think of this, is there any reason why wouldn't you go?
You're not going to get any dissent from me. I want to be there on the first day as well.
Makes sense, right?
So we've come to the end of our list of questions. Is there anything else you would like to tell our listeners? It could be anything at all. It could even be what you had for breakfast. I seriously do not care.
Well, breakfast was postponed because I usually open up Discord application and I start answering questions and I start looking for fixes, and each single day I try to improve a lot of stuff. So yeah, these daily habits, they kind of go into the background for me a bit. I'd say if you have a strong passion for making something that you care about, and if you have skills or you want to develop the skills, Nexus Aurora is the place where you can join this unbelievable set of people that have all the patience in the world to connect with you and to either help you start a new project or to help you start working on their projects. Anyway, it's going to be a fun experience. You don't have to come here to answer to a boss or something like this. You have to answer to your calls. And if your call says, well, I want to do something special, I want to do something that will stick out, I think you will have a bit of a satisfaction the moment you see your work published out there and the moment when you see actually people appraising you for your contributions. So I think it's worth your time. That's my message. Basically, join us and yeah, we'll do some fine job out there.
That was Adrian Moisa, known as Space Instructor on Discord, and he's the group lead for Nexus Aurora. Thanks for talking with us today.
It was a big pleasure, Felix, and I wish that your plans work out as well. I've been following the server closely, and if you have any questions or need of help or any such thing, we're here to embrace your efforts and help you as well. Okay?
Okay, thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you so much.
I don't do this alone, and I wouldn't want to. As the host of Future Imminent, it is my pleasure to thank Nick Gertson for producing, Lee Collings for his help in writing our script, and the Futurist Foundation for supporting this podcast. Be sure to check out the description for the links to our website, our Discord channel, and our sponsors. Thanks for listening to our last podcast this season. We'll have more guests in the imminent future. Until then, stay safe and enjoy your summer.